All right, y'all, so this is the swap. This is the D15 B7. Last time I bled the coolant, my fans never came on, and then I noticed that my water pump is leaking now. I don't know if you'll be able to see under. I'll try to add a clip, but it was leaking before at like the weep hole. So I have new parts. I'm gonna replace it because, you know, I don't want this car to overheat. But I did notice that when I would get stuck in stop and go traffic, it would start to overheat, but then once I started moving, it would go back to normal temperature. So I'm guessing that once you give like RPM and stuff, then the water pump and the coolant is circulating. So first I'm going to start by draining the coolant. I have a clean bucket there because I just put in fresh coolant and I don't want to waste it, so I'm going to reuse it. And then I'm going to work on this side. I'm going to support the engine here, take this mount off, and then we'll go from there. So we're gonna have to get to the crank bolt. So I'm gonna have to take this off, and it should be there. So we could rotate the engine and set it to top dead center. So to start, we're gonna have to take the belts off the crank pulley. So that's we only have two. We have the AC compressor belt and the alternator belt. So first I'm gonna disconnect the battery and then take those bolts off. Right there you can see there's a 12. I'm gonna try to break that loose. Okay, so I undid the top bolt of the alternator. I loosened the bottom one too. It's a 14 millimeter. The top is a 12. And then now you can move the alternator back and forth. So there I should be able to take off the belt. It's a 14 millimeter in this middle. So you can't fit a socket and a wrench in there because it's so tight. So what you could do is put two wrenches together like this. For more leverage, you just lock them like this and then break it free. All right, so now you can see the belt is loose. So we're gonna take it off. So right here, we're just gonna support the engine. Until you see it lift up a little bit. That should be enough right there. So these two are gonna be 17s. This is gonna be a 17 too. So this one, I'm just gonna loosen it so we can kind of angle this upward once I remove these two nuts from the stud. All right, again, make sure you have the engine supported. I have a jack under here supporting it with a block of wood before you do this, because you need something supporting the engine on this side since you're going to be taking the mount off. Just gotta work it. Okay, so I took out one spark plug. What we're gonna do to set it to TDC is we're gonna use a long extension, and then we're gonna rotate the engine. Once this is at its highest point and all the marks line up, we'll know that we're at TDC. So I'm just gonna stick this in here. So the crank bolt is a 17 millimeter on these, and these motors rotate counterclockwise. So I'm gonna go and rotate it now. You'll see the extension go to its highest point, and I'm gonna just make sure the crank, it has 3 marks. I'll show you guys. Make sure it lines up with the mark on the timing cover, with the crank pulley. Sorry. Focuses. So right there, you can see the marks line up with the mark on the timing cover. So that should be TDC. That mark is lined up right there, and it's at its highest point. So I'm gonna pop the valve cover off now, and then just double check everything. Make sure the marks are up. I'll show you guys, and then I'm gonna take this timing cover off. It's just 10 mils. So now we're gonna get the crank bolt loose. I'm using this Milwaukee 1/2-inch gun. This thing gets everything free. So break it free. We got it out. You're gonna just wanna work it off. There's gonna be a keyway there. It's gonna come out with it. Just don't lose that. So it's almost there. I've had to like tap it with the mallet just to get it a little bit free because it's really on there. So I've just been working it back and forth. There we go. That's the keyway in the middle. You want to make sure you don't lose that because it lines up in here. On the crank, mark is up. And then these two should be level with the head, so. There should be a mark there on the crank that lines up with the mark on the engine. It's gonna be hard to focus in on it, but it's that mark there. You can kind of see it on the crank. It's like faint on the crank gear, but it lines up with the arrow right above it. So we should be good there. Up mark, it's like dead center, and these look even with the head. This is at its highest point, so I'm gonna just take off tension off the belt, remove the tensioner and the spring, and swap over the new parts, and also take off the water pump, because if you look again right there, it looks greenish, so you can see that, yeah, the water pump is leaking. We'll take it off and like look at it after, but yeah, from up there. So now I'm gonna remove the tensioner on the bolt, loosen the bolt on the tensioner. So you can see here it's already loose, and then I'm gonna take off the tensioner spring. So let's see if I can take it off now. Tensioner bolt is pretty much loose. This can already come off. Like, let me just take off the valve cover set up, but it's coming off already. So there's a spot underneath the water pump, kind of like right there in that spot right next to the alternator. I just pried on there softly and it broke free. The coolant leaked out, so now this should just come off. So I cleaned the surface area where the water pump sits with this, just so you don't scratch anything up, and then just brake cleaner. So this is the water pump. It's a Gates with the gasket. Just put this in place. You can match it up. That gasket looks pretty flat, so it's good that we got a new one. Look about the same mounting spots. Has these guide pins, so we're gonna install it now. So it's gonna sit like that. All right, so it's in place. I don't know if it's just me, but I like to put bolts back in the same place they came out of. So I have the top ones here. I'm gonna start them by hand, just because you don't want to strip these. So we'll start a few just to hold it in place, and then we'll do a final torque spec after. So the reason again why I do this is because, like, if you look at these bolts right here, they're different length. So it's always good to just put it back in the spot that they came out of. Just make sure everything is going back in smooth by hand, like that. You don't strip anything, because you do not want to strip these bolts. They're easy to break too, so you don't want to over tighten them. So the water pump says to put RTV, thin layer, on the gasket. So I did that. I took it back off, put that on, put it back on, and then the torque specs. This is to do a quarter return, but I'm gonna torque it to spec. So yeah, you don't want to over tighten them. So water pump to block is 108. We're gonna convert that because I have a foot-pound torque wrench, and then we'll tighten those. So 108. Okay, they're all torqued down to 9 foot-pounds. So we also have a new Timeman belt tensioner. So it's here. I don't have a spring, so I'm just gonna reuse this one. So it goes on this edge here. There. That's what they do online. So now they want me to turn it back 3 teeth and then tighten up the tensioner after, and then rotate it over and make sure everything lines up. All right, so they want me to rotate 3 teeth. So I'm gonna start here. We're gonna just watch this one. So that's 1, that's 2, and that's 3 right there. So the tension is on the belt now, and then now they want me to tighten the tensioner to 33 foot-pounds and then rotate it over. So I didn't record myself putting everything back together, but it's just, you know, the same as taking everything off. I let the car run for about 15 to 20 minutes, let the fan cycle on about 3 times, and I use this spill-free funnel to bleed the coolant system.